It's 2023 and video content is more popular than ever. Social media platforms provide users with minor adjustment tools to polish their content, and other platforms such as Viddyoze allow people with zero video knowledge whatsoever to create full branded videos ready to go. Although this really does seem like the golden age for anyone to create their own content, there'll always be limitations. Some content requires a little more work, perhaps within advanced video editing software, but it doesn't have to be a daunting or time-consuming experience. Today, I'm going to give you my top 5 video editing tips that will save you hours when it comes to creating more advanced content. Let's get into it. Welcome back, I'm Tom Ainscough and I'm a digital content producer here at Viddyoze. This week I'll be passing on my top 5 video editing tips to save you hours of time when it comes to creating more advanced content. So let's not beat around the bush, let's jump into our first tip. Get familiar with editing software. Now this first tip might sound a little bit of a no-brainer to some of you, but you'd be surprised how many people put off creating longer content as soon as they open up a video editor. Even the most basic of video editors can look intimidating to a brand new content creator, but once you understand the general workflow of the editor, the learning curve drastically drops. So let me break down the general editing interface for you to really get to grips with what's what within your chosen editor. I'll be using DaVinci Resolve as personally I feel like it's the most advanced video editor, whilst also being the easiest one that you can use at the same time. And you can also get it absolutely free for any operating system, so it's a win-win-win for me. Don't worry if you already use an alternative advanced video editor such as Premiere Pro or iMovie, as most of these softwares will have that similar editing layout. So here we are within the DaVinci Resolve software, and we only need to focus on using the edit page to get started. The first area I want to talk about is the media pool. This section is where you'll import all of your media into. It's basically like the editor's storage for all of your footage, animations, music, timelines, sound effects, basically everything. When you start a project, you'll want to import all of your media into this area for it to be used within that particular project. Next up, we have the editing timeline. This is the section where we'll actually be piecing our bits of media together to create our desired content. We can drag and drop the media from our media pool into the timeline to actually piece out our final content over the desired amount of time. We can also use different tracks within the timeline to layer up different pieces of media together. For example, if I wanted to show an alpha animation playing over my own recorded footage, the tracks allow me to combine these elements to work with each other. Next, we have the viewer window. This is the area that allows us to actually see the media that we're working on. Many video editors have 2 viewing windows, which you can actually toggle as an option in DaVinci with this button here. Traditionally, the first viewing window is for showing you the playback for your media pool clips, whereas the second viewing window will be showing the content you've pieced together in the timeline. Personally, I use the single viewing monitor mode for both my media pool clips and timeline playback to save some room up on the interface. In the single viewing mode, most editing softwares will automatically show you the relevant viewer depending whether you're working in the timeline or your media pool. So I can pretty much guarantee that all non-linear video editing software will have at least a media pool, a timeline, and a viewing monitor. Even if you just get to grips with these 3 areas, then you're already massively on your way to speeding up your video editing. Before I jump into my next tip, I want to give you a few honourable mentions that are likely to appear on most other video editors, but may not be completely essential for all. So most video editors will have an inspector area. This is usually an area where we can make individual adjustments to media within our timeline. This could include resizing the media, cropping it, stabilising it, adjusting audio, all kinds of different things really to get into the specifics on your content. Another section that most video editors will have is the effects area. This is the area with, well, you guessed it, all of the different effects you can apply to your media. This could include video and audio transitions, as well as overlay effects and generators to create different looks on your content. Finally, we have the audio mixer section, which allows audio leveling control per track, rather than controlling an individual clip through the inspector's audio adjustment tool. The audio mixer is more useful for refining music tracks or making more advanced adjustments, but I'm sure that'll all be for another video further down the line. Store your media correctly. Now, this next tip is one of those where it kind of doesn't matter too much if you've got a really powerful computer. However, it's always best practice to store media correctly when it comes to optimizing your editing workflow. That's why I must absolutely recommend that you invest in a solid-state drive with a minimum storage capacity of 500 gig. By owning an SSD, you'll be able to store all of your media onto the drive, which may work wonders for your computer. Let me break it down really quick of what usually happens when you offload your media onto your computer instead of a solid-state drive. Step 1, you shoot your video. Step 2, you put your footage onto your computer. Step 3, you come to edit. Step 4, your computer can't play back the footage very well. Step 5, you give up and forget the video. Now let me break it down of what's more likely to happen if you chose to edit from an SSD. Step 1, you shoot your video. Step 2, you put your footage onto your SSD. Step 3, you plug it in and come to edit. Step 4, your computer plays back the footage seamlessly. Step 5, you enjoy putting together the edit and create a great video. You see the key difference here. Basically, working from an SSD will put less strain on your computer during the editing process. I'm sure some of you'll know the crucifying pain of trying to edit a video together with awful playback. It's borderline impossible, and it's certainly not fun. So it's understandable why so many people probably give up on video editing before they even get started with it. Keep all of your media on a separate solid-state drive to free up that valuable storage on your machine. Everything will run smoother and the video editing process will be much more enjoyable, I can pretty much guarantee it. In addition to this, most video editors will allow you to select where you want your project cache files to be stored. Usually in the software settings, you'll be able to select and store your project cache files directly onto the SSD, which will also prevent clogging up your machine. Get another monitor. I remember some years ago when I was first getting into video editing, I really enjoyed everything about it, the storytelling, the technical tricks, but there's one thing I'll always remember that I didn't like: everything being so damn crammed on my screen. For a long time I did edit on one screen only, but I can't stress enough how much easier things got when I finally invested into getting an additional external monitor. Many advanced video editors have the capabilities to support a dual screen editing mode, and I couldn't recommend it enough. The crammed user interface can be overwhelming for many people when it's all thrown onto one screen, but once you gain that extra bit of space, you can really start to customize your own workspace. I personally keep a full screen timeline up on my external monitor, whilst having my media pool, viewer and other tools shown on my main laptop screen. But make sure you lay out your own interface in a way that best works with you. Once you have your external monitor plugged in, you can usually set it up for use through the workspace settings within your chosen video editor. Organize your projects. Having plenty of space to work around is all well and good, but it's all irrelevant if we don't keep things organized. Starting a new project and dragging 84 media files straight into edit may initially sound a nice speedy process, but boy do you realise that the deeper you get into a project, you'll be wishing more and more that you organised all them clips right at the start. Within the media pool area of your video editor, we'll be able to create folders, also known as bins in the editing world, that will allow us to properly structure out our media for the project. As I've mentioned, just organising all of your footage into these bins at the start will save you an incredible amount of time when it comes to looking for things as you work on your project. You can break things up into footage, dialogue, music, animations, the list goes on. Again, just make sure you're organising things in a way that's helpful to you. There's no right or wrong. On the subject of organisation, we can usually also adjust things in the timeline, such as giving tracks an appropriate name or colouring them up differently if you're more of a visual person. All of these editing habits will keep your video creation a speedy process in the long. Utilise keyboard shortcuts. My fifth and final tip is to make the most of keyboard shortcuts. Every video editor will have drastically different keyboard shortcuts from each other, so I say it's always best to try set up a few custom buttons that work for you. Even things just like setting your cut tool to a keyboard shortcut rather than having to press it with your mouse can save a few seconds each cut. And when you're making a few hundred cuts, those few hundred saved seconds really start racking up. You've got to have a play around in the software and work out which tools you use a lot. Once you start getting an idea of your frequently used editing tools, you can then start to think about mapping the tools to keyboard shortcuts you desire. And there we have it, my top 5 video editing tricks that'll massively speed up your post-production workflow. I hope you all took incredible value from this session, and if anyone does have any further questions or suggestions, then please do feel free to post them into the Viddyoze Discord community. You can get all set up within the Discord community just by clicking the community tab at the top of the Viddyoze software. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.